Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me once again today, and welcome back to Total War Warhammer 2. That camera's a little bit fast. I haven't posted a video for a few days. I know, things have been going on. Family members have gotten injured, we had a birthday, all the usual excuses. Anyway, things have been busy, so I haven't been posting much, but we're gonna get back into it. We're starting with something that should be kind of quick and interesting. This is my first game in ShadowOnlineGaming's YouTuber Championship Total War Warhammer 2 tournament. So he's got a bunch of YouTubers, ranging in terms of skill from me all the way up to people like Turin and Zardar Turtle Warrior, kind of the somewhat more upper echelons of player. So I'm actually going to turn my camera speed down a little bit, I think, because my rotation speed. There we go. That should be a little bit better. Yeah, that's better. Okay, so we're playing in groups. This is the first battle of my group. So everybody's going to end up playing 3 battles in this set, and then the winners, as it were, will advance to the next area. So I'm playing against Gojira here. I'm playing as the Greenskins. He's playing as the Vampire Coast. This used to be an incredibly difficult matchup. The Vampire Coast had all the tools they needed to really shut down Greenskin play and use terror bombing and all kinds of stuff. Heavy air pressure from deck droppers, monsters, artillery, all the kind of stuff that Greenskins really just hate. But it got a lot easier since the last patch for a couple of reasons. First of all, the coast got nerfed in a lot of ways. Secondly, the Greenskins got a couple of new tools. And the first of their upgraded tools is the Doom Diver. The Doom Diver got a massive damage upgrade in that its damage became almost entirely AP. So it hits like a truck now. I mean, it hit pretty hard before, but now it really hits hard. So, in my little army, we're going to pause here. We're already starting to fire, as you can see. I have 2 Doom Diver catapults. The reason I brought 2 Doom Diver catapults is because with their high AP damage and high accuracy, they're an excellent counter against monsters. And I figured that he was going to bring some kind of giant terror-causing monster. It's a great choice against Greenskin. So in this case, he brought a Necrofex Colossus, and he also brought Luther Harkon on a Terrorgeist, which Doom Divers can hit, albeit even their accuracy isn't enough to hit really reliably. But right now, this is the first volley. I think I have actually targeted the Necrofex Colossus already. I've got a front line of 4 Savage Orcs, quite a light front line by Greenskin standards, and vulnerable to missile fire. And that's kind of what I want. I kind of want these guys to be targeted. I don't really want them to win. My strategy is not relying on the Greenskin frontline charge, because I expected he would have anticipated that. I've got the Broken Tusks mob and Wurzag. I brought Wurzag instead of Azog or something because I really cannot have an Air Lord in this matchup. He'd just get absolutely sniped out. I've got 1 Nasty Skulker guarding one of my Doom Diver catapults, and then I have a firing line. 2 Orc Arrow Boys with their slightly higher AP damage and slightly higher damage overall, plus the Rusty Airs. So that seems like a pretty reasonable army, but that's not all. I've also got a lot of flankers. I love Goblin Wolf Rider Archers, and I'm going to be using them very heavily in this game. So I've got 2 over here, 2 Goblin Wolf Rider Archers there. I've got 1 standard Goblin Wolf Rider in the back here, and then over in this corner, I have a Forest Goblin Spider Rider and 2 more Goblin Wolf Rider Archers. So I think that's the max of Goblin Wolf Rider Archers I'm allowed to have. 4 of them, the Spider Rider, and the Wolf Rider. So a lot of fast, light cavalry, a lot of cheap stuff, very good distractions. These 6 units put together are still only something like 2,500 gold. So I was able to invest enough to have a pretty significant main army and still have 6 flanking units, which I think is very valuable against the coast, because the coast brings chaff, and that's what Gojira has done here. He's gotten a bunch of deck droppers. He's got, I think, 4 of the pistol variant deck droppers. He's got 3 Fell Bats plus Harkon, so a lot of air power. He's got a front line of zombie pirate deckhand mobs, 5 of them, a gunnery mob with pistols, 3 halberds. He's got his Necrofex Colossus, Sirens, a vampire fleet captain that can spam out summons and what's that spell? Drown Dead, and then of course he's got Harkon. So a couple of central powerful monsters and then a whole bunch of chaff. That's what I expected him to bring, and that's what my strategy is designed against. We've got these guys to snipe out monsters. Oh, I also have a Night Goblin Shaman who has the magic missile spell, Gaze of Mork, and pretty much nothing else, his items. So he can also spam magic missiles at the Necrofex Colossus. So right now, over here, my cavalry here are just shooting at these deck droppers, and they're just getting wrecked. They don't I mean, they're going to lose this, but in losing it, they're going to distract a whole bunch of enemy assets, and they might even come back depending on what direction they run. So I'm fine with this. My infantry is advancing more or less alone. The purpose of the infantry advancing like this is to lock the enemy in place, and it's working. The Necrofex Colossus is out here alone, and I don't think Gojira has quite realized how fast it's taking damage. My artillery is hugely efficient at crushing something like the Necrofex Colossus. Back here, I've got even more distracting light cavalry, drawing the enemy's attention away, doing a little bit of chip damage to Luther, but the main play is, if I can trade all 4 of these units for the Necrofex Colossus plus random light damage, I definitely have won. Over here, one of my Goblin Wolf Rider archers is coming back. My other Goblin Wolf Rider is also moving in. My other flankers over here. The Forest Goblin Spider Riders are sitting back. These guys have routed, but they are going to return almost immediately because of the way Greenskins work. And now, here's the interesting thing. So the Wolf Riders are coming in. They're going to launch a rear charge. This side of the line, I'm actually probably going to overwhelm these guys. But then I'm looking up and I'm like, they're going to lose to the air power. That's fine. Over here, absolutely going to lose. These Savage Orcs are isolated. They're going to be fighting 4 units. They're going to do damage, but they will die. These guys, however, are doing a very important job. The Necrofex Colossus is finally retreating, but it's with low health, and I think I can kill it with the artillery. But up here, I've got Luther Harkon on the ground. So in the back, my units that were holding back, we are rushing forward. The archers, all the archers, plus Wurzog, with, of course, effigy of Degit. My artillery is staying back. My cavalry is staying back because it's hidden. He hasn't seen it yet, and I don't want him to see it. Over here, we've got archery going up into the bats, trying to do some damage. We've got the Goblin Wolf Riders coming in. Luther Harkon is on the ground, and if I can just get him locked in place, it's going to be good. So, up here, the Rusty Arrows are advancing. I see Luther Harkon. Luther Harkon is all set to go after my archers. And then, in come the volleys and effigy. And he's fucked. Greenskin arrows, especially from Arrow Boys, who, as I said, have some AP and have pretty high per hit damage, against the target with his armor reduced by the Rusty Arrows, he is melting incredibly quickly, just going way downhill. Over here, Fellbats are chasing off my Goblin Wolf Rider archers that routed and then rally, but that's fine. They're going to kill him and then come right back. My Wolf Riders are breaking, but they will also return. These Fellbats are badly damaged, so we're chipping away at his mobility. My Savage Orcs grab the Fist of Gork just to make sure they can really help lock Luther down, and Luther is absolutely melting. Meanwhile, in the back, the artillery has almost killed the Necrofex Colossus, and he is now crumbling. My Forest Goblin Spider Riders are about to be activated and come in as well. And over here, Luther Harkon goes down. So, we're fighting against vampires, remember. This is the victory condition. The victory condition is kill the Lord, kill the hero, kill the large monsters, destroy the morale of the army. With Luther Harkon dead, the leadership of his army is tanking. Look at these zombie pirate deckhands, have 10 leadership. Absolutely tanking. Meanwhile, the flying units are coming out to take off my archers. But Orc Arrow Boys can actually beat basic flying units. They have very high weapon strength, they have decent melee attack, I mean, for the kind of unit they are. And I'm bringing in the Broken Tusks mob now to support. Wurzog is just kind of sitting over here, having fun, being cool. The Necrofex Colossi, I should have actually switched fire away earlier, but he's going to take a couple extra hits here and go down. We've got arrows pouring in against the flyers and the infantry over here. My infantry have finally broken, but they did some damage on the way in, and they are going to rally, as Greenskins tend to do. Over here, the Sirens are cleaning up my Savage Orcs finally, but they held long enough. At this point, the balance of power is significantly in my favor, because the enemy leadership is gone, and they can no longer combat my mobility. My Goblin Wolf Rider archers are just sitting here shooting. The bats don't have the strength to stop me, really, and my mobile troops can just do it better. We're dropping artillery in on the vampire fleet captain. They are accurate enough to take him down, slowly but surely. We've got deck droppers crumbling over here. Over here, we've got arrows going into the zombie pirate gunnery mob, which are a very good target for that, and we're going to get a nice little spider charge right in the rear of them. Excellent, excellent work. And over here, while it looks bad, at this point it's actually all over but the crying. As I said, he can move in a blob, but that's about all he can do. I still have a pretty decent amount of ammunition on my mobile forces, and I still have my artillery with some ammunition. Plus, I have my Savage Orcs rallying, I still have the Broken Tusk Mob, a full-strength Nasty Skulker. I can absolutely hold him up and pummel him with ranged fire and magic. Wurzag, meanwhile, has dropped Fists of Gork on these Error Boys, which means they're going to absolutely mulch these Sirens, who have high melee defense, but no armor and low hit points, so they're extremely vulnerable to magic damage. Plus, we're going to drop another Brain Burst on them, just for good measure. So these Orc Error Boys are going to kick the shit out of them with 40 melee attack and magic damage. See how quickly they're dying. Up here, these guys are sitting, but it doesn't matter, because the Sirens are going down, the Vampire Fleet Captain is approaching half health, and as soon as he dies, that will be the only leadership left on the field, gone from the Vampire Coast. Meanwhile, over here, these guys are just sitting. I really should have activated them by this point and swung them in. But honestly, I didn't really want to get into a melee blob fight. You know, using up ammo seems to be the thing to do. Forest Goblin Spider Riders swinging in on the rear. The Orc Error Boys are holding, and they've effectively destroyed the Sirens. We get a nice effigy on the Vampire Fleet Captain, and with that, the balance of power swings so heavily in my favor that the entire enemy army disintegrates. And with one last little Brain Burst just to see him off right. And that is the game. Well, these Pirate Deckhand mobs have to disintegrate, but there we go. That's the game. So, it worked out pretty much like I had hoped it would. My micro certainly wasn't perfect, but the plan worked in the way that I had anticipated it doing. The weakness here was the chance that he would bum rush the artillery and swarm it with his bats. If he'd done that, I would have had to pull all of my Wolf Rider archers in to help save them, run my artillery crew away, collapse my infantry, all that jazz. That might have given him the time to push up and lock me in a grindy fight, potentially take my archers offline. I think that was pretty much the way to have fought this. But I think a lot of people are just so used to the Greenskins coming in a mass, like melee wave, that they don't expect the very light, fast, skirmishy playstyle that you can absolutely do with the Greenskins. I mean, Goblin Wolf Rider archers, you can get Spider Wolf Rider archers if you want to, although in tournament rules there's limits on how many Parthian shot units you can have, so you couldn't have too many of those. But Greenskin light cavalry is really good. Greenskin light infantry is quite solid. Greenskin artillery is very good nowadays. The only area where Greenskins are really weak anymore, I would say, is cavalry. Their cavalry is all kind of like slightly shy of mediocre. Boarboy Biggins are really the only ones that are any good, and they're solid for their price. They're acceptable, they do their job, but they're certainly nothing exceptional. Nothing worth writing home about. I mean, like, you know, compared to, say, Cold One Knights or Spear Riders or Demigriffs or pretty much anything in that, like, 1,000 to 1,500 price range that's comparable to them in role will absolutely trash them. You know, the armor-piercing anti-large cavalry. That said, the Broken Tusk mob, pretty solid, and Greenskin infantry, you can see here, these guys, I pretty much just threw these guys in unsupported as a sacrifice. Just literally like, here, pay attention to these guys, kill them instead of focusing on the rest of my army. Even so, 108 kills on that unit. It's not too shabby. But yeah, the main thing that I absolutely had to do very, very quickly was focus down the big monsters and the Lord. Luther Harkon is pretty easy to focus down. He's dangerous and terrifying, but if you can manage to get him locked down with Wurzag, as I managed to do, fortunately, he's pretty easy to wipe out in fairly short order. Not a whole lot of armor, big target, etc. So in any case, thanks for watching. There will be a lot more of this coming. There's 2 more battles in this round, and then we move on to the second round. And we're still actually, I think I still have 1 battle to go in the second round. I won't spoil anything for you yet, but we'll see how the tournament goes. So, thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.